Hey there, Mouseketeers. Kate from PrincessMinnie here, and I think this is the first time I'm doing a video where I'm just sitting down and talking to you guys. So let me be really clear up front, if you don't want to just listen to me talk about my life for, however long this video is, I feel like it might go on for a while, this is not the video for you, and I'll see you real soon. But if you really just have some time and you feel like hearing about my life, maybe you're doing what I do and you're putting your makeup on or you're washing the dishes or doing the laundry and you just kind of want to hear somebody talk for a while, cool with me. That's what I do all the time with lots of different YouTubers. So a lot of you wanted to know kind of what my life was like, how everything was going in quarantine / isolation, and right now in my state, Pennsylvania, things are kind of starting a little bit to open up, but I still feel like we are very much in isolation. I feel we are still very much in quarantine. My husband is somebody who's in the higher risk category because of past illnesses and lung issues. So really we're taking everything very seriously, and we're taking everything just extra careful. We'd rather be safe than sorry. That's kind of just the way we're going with it. I'm not saying anybody else needs to live a certain way. I think we should all live in a way that really respects others and takes others into consideration, but that's not really what this video is about. I just kind of want to let you know that we are still continuing to pretty much isolate. My husband has not left the house. Like, we both started working from home, which, very, very happy to report that we've been able to work from home, so we haven't lost either of our jobs. But we both started working from home early to mid-March. It was kind of a surprise for me because my school, I am a reading specialist. I work with kids in grades K, 1, 2, and 3. Depending on the year, and so that might be, I know some of you actually asked me what ages would that be because you might be in another country and the grade system doesn't align. So that's usually like ages like 5 to 9 roughly on the spectrum, and specifically this year I worked mostly with 1 and 2, first and second grade, so maybe 6, 7-year-olds in that kind of range depending on their birthdays. So I started working from home, my husband started working from home. He actually started a brand new job like a month or 2 prior to having to work from home, so it's been very stressful for him. But we started working from home mid-March, and he has not really left the house. Just hasn't. I mostly have been leaving the house for grocery store trips, and I go like as soon, and my Giant has hours for like the elderly and high-risk groups from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. So I'm usually there at like 7:01, 7:05, so I can get in before any big crowds start. Because one day, and it was right before Easter, I decided to go to the grocery store. Ooh, that was a mistake. I was in line just to check out for over 30 minutes. It was insane. But regardless, how have we done in quarantine then, considering we pretty much have been inside? I don't want this to sound rude or flippant or anything, because would I prefer the world to be normal, and would I prefer to be able to be at work and see loved ones? Absolutely. But putting a positive spin on things, how has this been for us? It's been pretty great, honestly. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that we're both working. We haven't lost income, so that has been essential, and I don't want to, I want to be empathetic to anybody who's not in that position, because I can't even imagine how tough that would be. We almost were in that position because, like I said, John, he just got that new job. If he hadn't gotten that job, we would be in a position where we only had one income, and I'm sure that must be really, really devastating and really difficult, and I feel for everybody in that position. For us, that's not our position. We are okay. In fact, we're saving a lot of money because we're not going out to restaurants. We're not going out to aimlessly spend at stores. As things are opening up now, I have no desire to go anywhere. I really don't. I'm a homebody. That's another reason why it hasn't been too difficult for us. And also, we're both home, and like my husband and I, we are absolutely best friends. Like, spending time with him is my favorite thing in the world. And he said to me, he goes, I feel like we're going to be the only couple who loves each other more coming out of quarantine. And I feel that because you hear a lot of negative stuff about couples coming out at this time. So I hope that you've been enjoying who you've been at home with. Also, we don't have kids, so we haven't had to worry about being, homeschoolers, or, it's not really homeschooling. We haven't had to worry about distance learning with our children because we don't have them. So that's been like a big, weight off us that other people have. So we haven't had the same pressures or weights that other people have. So we've mostly been enjoying ourselves. I've had time to cook. I've had time to clean. I've had time to experiment with new recipes. I've had time to get back into YouTube. I've had time to catch up on TV shows. I've had time to get my work done. And I've had time to do all the things that I really, really would like to do. Not to say there haven't been challenges. So in terms of work, I love my job. I absolutely am obsessed with teaching and with being a reading specialist now. I taught for 7 years, and this will be my 3rd year being a reading specialist coming up. And I recently had an emergency trip to the dentist. I did have to go. It's kind of a big issue I've been working on for a long time. It's okay. But it's a good thing I didn't lose my job because it was expensive. In the past year, I pretty much had root canal, I've had a wisdom tooth extraction, I've had everything every procedure, my dentist said you've had every procedure I could possibly have you go through. So I had to go to the dentist, long story short, sorry. And again, you can feel free to go about your day if this is not your kind of video. So they asked me, they said, oh, you're a teacher, how is school going, virtually? And I was like, horrible. And I feel like I need to smile and laugh about it, even though it's very serious, because if I don't, I might scream. Distance learning has been bad. Honestly, it's just been bad. This year I had 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders, and I have small groups of them. So I might have 35 or 36 kids, depending on the time of year. And I think, I was doing tons and tons of work, tons of prep work. I had to film myself doing videos. I had to do live sessions. And I might only have, I think I had 1 1st grader, 1 2nd grader. So that's 2 together, right? Math, yes. Math, very fundamental. And I think I had maybe 3 3rd graders. So I essentially had 5 kids doing work. And it's very frustrating. It's hard to put so much effort and time into something and just have it not matter. And for those 5, it mattered, and that is so great. But I wanted to affect more kids. I just couldn't, and that's frustrating. So I hope that comes across the way I intend, that I think that the thing you hear a lot about education is people say, if I can just make an impact in one kid's life, if I can just change one kid's life, then that will be enough. That means everything. And I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard. I've been a teacher for 9 years, almost 10 years now, and if I've only affected 1 kid or changed 1 kid's life, oh my God, I have failed. That's a ton of kids that have not been affected positively by me, and that's unacceptable. That's my take on things. I feel like that's a saying that's really nice. It sounds nice, but when you kind of digest it and you break it down, you're like, ugh, gotta think about that one. So this, half of the, a third of the year for me, it hasn't been personally very satisfying in terms of work, and work usually is very satisfying at my soul level. So that's been my biggest struggle for sure. Kato just came in. He's probably looking for snacks or food. And so that brings me to another point I wanted to talk about, that my cats are so happy we're home. I know it doesn't look like he's happy, but this is him. This is how he shows affection. Okay, you want to go? Bye. He's probably just gonna hang out in here though and try to scratch up on my pin boards. But my cats could not be happier that we're home. They love having me home every summer, and the fact that me and my husband are home, oh my God, they are loving it. They definitely get fed too much, but whatever. It's once in a lifetime experience that we'll have together. So I do like to spoil them. That reminds me too of why being in isolation, away from all of our loved ones and away from the fun activities outside we might normally have, a little bit easier for me is because I'm kind of used to it, in the sense that every summer I have off. I don't have a second job in the summer, and I just kind of get time to chill out, refresh, cook, clean, exercise, do all the things that I might not have as much time as I'd like to do during the school year. I do during the summer. And I don't see people usually. Like, I see my husband when he comes home, and I make dinner and we eat, and it's bedtime because he works really long hours. So it's not that different from what I'm used to. It's like summer. I've been trained every summer to have time at home and fill that time. What have I been doing with my time? I have been watching a lot of TV. I'm not gonna lie, I watch a lot of TV and a lot of movies. John's the big movie buff and I'm the big TV person, so we kind of make each other balance it out a bit. I also have been watching a lot of Funko Pop YouTube channels, like a lot of them, and that's been really fun. I'm trying to catch up on my regular YouTube content, but I don't know, I just kind of needed a break from it, I think, watching some of the things I normally watch, but I'm really excited to get back to that. So if you have any great YouTube channels you want me to check out, definitely put that down below. I kept a running list throughout all of quarantine, so since like mid-March, of everything we've been watching, so I could share it with you guys. I'll put that at the end in case you're not interested in that, but I will let you know in a little bit what that was like. But I've also been exercising a lot. So we got a Peloton spin bike and I am obsessed with it. It was definitely the best purchase ever. It definitely is an expensive purchase, I will say, but my husband and I both belong to 2 different gyms, so cutting out that membership, it was like, it's really no different for us. And once the bike is paid off, then it's just the monthly membership for the classes. And I thought they were only going to be spin classes, but in case you're interested in checking them out, Peloton offers a lot of different kinds of workouts on their platform, and I just Chromecast it to my TV when I'm looking to do other kinds of things. They have yoga, they have stretching, they have walking, they have running. I know my mother-in-law does that sometimes. They have spin, and if you have a bike at home, like a stationary bike of some kind or spin bike of some kind, you can actually kind of follow along with their videos too. So even if you don't have the Peloton bike, you can still get the Peloton membership and do their spin classes. They have their own treadmill called the Tread, and they also have workouts for that. They have meditation, which I've been trying to mediocre success to this point. And they have some cardio, they have dance like cardio, I think that's something new that they're doing. So they have like a lot of fun. Oh, and they have strength videos too. So they have a lot of cool stuff, and I've been trying to kind of expand and do things like that. I'm right now on day 30 as I'm filming this of a 60-day challenge, because I'm the kind of person I really like challenging myself. Just to kind of see what I can do, what I'm capable of. That's exciting to me. And so one of my friends, Melissa, and I right now, we're doing a 60-day challenge, and there's a lot to it, but it's definitely working out, and it's definitely drinking a gallon of water every day, which I am not good at, and I'm realizing I'm not good at it, but I'm trying, and I think the trying is helping. And it's no sugar, including no artificial sugar, which has been big for me. And so it's a lot. You have to take like progress photos, which I've never done before, but I'm really enjoying it. And again, I'm 30 days in, and I'm definitely, and no alcohol. And I'm not the world's biggest drinker by any means, but every once in a while, like every couple weeks, I'm like, man, I really wish I could open a bottle of wine or something. So I'm very excited to have wine and keto ice cream like the second the 60 days is over. Like, I already have it picked out. I know what I'm having. But I've been working out really hard because I love pushing myself physically, and the world has been crazy, and there's been a lot of emotion, and I've felt that. And I'm also using exercise as therapy right now. Like, there are times where I am like working out hard on the bike and I'm like almost in tears just getting all my emotions out. So, and then there are times I'm like laughing like an idiot too. So it's all good. And if you're not, you know, if you're not where you want to be with exercise or eating right, I hear a lot of people saying that, you know, it's helping them with anxiety and with their emotions right now. Like, it might be something to think about. And there are a lot of things just like on YouTube that you could follow along with also. So for me, it's definitely, like, I hate running, but like spinning is my happy place. But John and I, another thing that we've been doing together is we do go for walks in our neighborhood. So we're very lucky to live in a place where we can walk and it's safe and it's, you know, not too, really, we don't see many people. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And it's been great to get like some of that sunshine, because that's another, getting sunshine is another really good way to kind of boost your mood. So we've been using that. I've also gotten super into puzzles and crafting. So I actually, guys, back in like January, I think it wasn't too long ago, I went through my house and I got rid of so many things. I got rid of things that would have been perfect for quarantine, but who would have known? Who would have known it would happen? Like, I got rid of so many puzzles because I was like, I've had these puzzles for years and I've never used them before. Time to declutter. Well, my decluttering was good in theory, but it came at the worst possible time. But I did find something I missed. I got at Target a 4-pack of Disney Thomas Kincaid puzzles, and one of them I had done years ago, and so I couldn't finish it because I'm sure my cats lost the pieces to it because they were helping, and that was like a Snow White themed one. But I was able to do a Mickey and Minnie themed puzzle, a Cinderella themed puzzle, and a Sleeping Beauty themed puzzle, and those were all so much fun. So I'm definitely getting into the puzzle world. I also ordered a paint by numbers, which I just started because it took forever to ship. And I also have gotten into diamond paintings, which for me, the jury is still out if I really even like the aesthetic of them. Like, I don't even think I'll be hanging them up in my house or something, but I kind of just, you have so many hours each day, like I kind of needed something to do with my time, and sitting there and like methodically putting in each diamond was very, it was freeing for me in a way. And I also really like puzzles. So I like those, I call them crossword puzzles without the clues, where they give you a list of words that are like 4-letter words, 5-letter words, 6-letter words, etc. And you have to figure out how they fit in the crossword like structure. And I have just been going through that like crazy, especially because my summer officially started this week. We're done for the school year. And so now I have even more time on my hands. So I do plan on filming a lot more videos also. But let me know, what have you guys been doing in quarantine? Tell me your stories down below, and I mean that sincerely. There are a lot of you out there saying, yes, I know, I'm gonna write to Kate and we're gonna have a conversation about this. And there's probably some of you like, she doesn't really care. No, I really do care. Tell me what you've been up to in quarantine, because I'm still mentally, even though my state's opening up, I'm still mentally in quarantine. So definitely let me know what you're doing, because it might help me out. Alright, last thing I want to do is I want to take you through my list that I compiled, again, since March, like mid-March. So keep that in mind. It's a really long list, so I'm going to try to go through it quickly. But everything that we've watched. And I will say, we also have been playing video games. We like to play Skyrim, which is like a fantasy world role-playing game. It's a huge game, like a lot of people know about it. So definitely let me know if you play. And I'll talk to you about my characters. I'd be very excited. And then we also finally bought Animal Crossing, and for the first like 2 weeks we had it, we were playing it pretty nonstop every second we could. We've definitely loosened up on that a bit, but still enjoy playing it a lot. Oh, I totally forgot, I have to film this video, but I did a no spend also in May. I did not spend a single thing, really. You know, I mean, on essentials. But I'm gonna have a video that talks about all the things I didn't buy in my no spend, and then what I've bought since, which is considerable. June's been rough on my wallet. But yeah, so I did a no spend in May, and I'm gonna talk about that and kind of how I felt about it. Let me know, have you been spending less in quarantine or even more because you have time on your hands to online shop? Oh, and before we get into the movies and TV list, I will let you know one sad thing for us out of quarantine is we had a couple of trips planned, Disney trips planned, that we just had to say, nope, shelf those indefinitely. We were gonna just do a quick Disney World trip because we were already planning on driving down to Virginia, and we were like, well, we're 5 hours closer to Disney. Why don't afterwards we just keep driving? And we were going to drive down to Disney and stay. And we were going to do a resorts only trip, possibly maybe like a water park day because I've never done a Disney water park. And then we were just going to drive home. And that's just not happening now, so that's done. Maybe a year in the future. We've done a resorts only trip before and it was really fun. There's still a lot to do in Disney even if you don't go to the parks. But the bigger deal for us, which in the grand scheme of things, I keep telling John, it's okay. It will still be there and we can go one day. But we're very sincerely planning a Disneyland Paris trip. We actually had all of our vacation money earmarked for it, like, so it was already pretty much paid for. We just had to actually book it. I was researching Paris because we were going to do a few days in Paris. We've never been outside of the country, so we really were excited to do that. And I even started learning French on Duolingo. I even had like a 70-day streak going by the time quarantine started, and then I thought, you know, yay, quarantine, one good thing is I'll have plenty of time to practice my French, and the exact opposite happened. I had a specific schedule where I showed up to work early every day because I like to do that, and I would sit down with my tea and I would do 5 to 10 minutes of French practice. And then if I had a spare moment at work, I would do a few more minutes. But then as soon as I didn't have a schedule like that anymore, it just totally fell off. And now that we're no longer planning that trip, like that has been postponed indefinitely. I want to get back into learning, but it's just a little harder when you don't have that trip on the horizon to push you for it. Okay, but ending on a happy note, because most of the things we watched we loved, how about I start with the shows that we've been watching, since I'm more of a TV person. And so it is a very long list, so I'm just gonna get started. All right, we have been watching Survivor. All right, guys, so I know I said I was gonna go through this quickly, but this is a bit of an explanation. I have never in my life watched Survivor. Like, even though I was at like a prime age to watch when it started, I want to say I was in like middle school. I'm not 100% sure. But everyone, it felt like in the country was watching it and I just wasn't interested. I was like, I don't want to see a bunch of people starving on an island. Like, over the years, it never caught my interest. John really liked it. And he watched a bunch of seasons, and then he kind of fell out of it in high school and we met and he never got me into it. And, you know, it's just been a bunch of years. And I've been absolutely fine not watching Survivor. I honestly didn't even know it was still on. And because we don't watch normal TV, we just have streaming services. And so John was like, you know, you've never watched Survivor. I really feel like you should. And I was like, okay. Like, I'm up for it. And I kind of was like, oh, well, I'm not gonna like it, so it doesn't really matter. Like, I'll just give him a season and then we can be done with that. And he goes, okay, well, Hulu has, I think it's like 34 of the 40 seasons or something like that. He's like, they have like 34 seasons. Which one should I pick? And I was like, I don't care. You can pick whatever you want. So he even researched like what were the best seasons. We started with season 20, which if you're a Survivor fan was heroes versus villains, Russell and Sandra and Boston Rob and lots of other people. And I loved it. Like, we spent the next like couple weekends once we started it just binging all day long. Like, we would sit in front of the TV and just watch Survivor. Like, honestly, not doing like anything else. And so we started with season 20 and I think we're on like 31 or something like that. And if you want to talk Survivor, let's talk Survivor because I love it. I am totally obsessed with it. In fact, like, you can't get all the seasons on Hulu, like the more recent ones. So we're legit thinking about getting access to CBS's streaming service just so we can watch Survivor. Like, that's how into it we are. Man, it became a deep thing for us. We've really enjoyed bonding watching Survivor. Oh, something else that I absolutely love. I love Married at First Sight. Again, I'm watching it on Hulu, so I'm a little bit behind. I think I might only be a season behind now. I am literally like today finishing a season. It's such a train wreck. Oh my God. Like, it seems like there's always like one couple that comes out pretty good at Married at First Sight, and it's like, go you, that's awesome. But my God, it's so hard to watch these other people, and I'm just obsessed with it. Like, I'm not really a big reality show person. There are other reality shows on here, but they're like, I have a specific niche of reality show. I've always liked watching like the cooking competitions, the singing competitions. Survivor falls into that. I have never really been into the dating aspects, even though you might think of them as competitions. I don't know. It's a little complicated, I guess. They kind of all run together. But like, I've never watched The Bachelor or Bachelorette or any of those types of shows. I just don't have an interest in them. Like, all power to you if you do. It's just not something that ever caught my attention, I guess. But Survivor didn't either. Now I'm obsessed with it. But Married at First Sight was always kind of different for me because it just seems so ludicrous to me that you would marry someone you never even met, didn't know their name, anything. And it does not disappoint. You get your high moments, you get a lot of low moments. I love it. But yeah, I'm about to finish the North Carolina season today. I was really excited to find out they had a Philadelphia season. I don't remember that going so well. I think that was two good couples out of that one. All right. Oh, okay, so the next one, not a reality show, Supernatural. So Supernatural, it feels so weird saying that because we were binging that more in March, and it feels so long ago now. But we had been binging it for a long time up till March, and we just really love that show, and we would do, again, big binging sessions of that. So that's a great binge watch show, and I think they're just, I don't know if they're done filming their last season, but we're, I think, like season 14 out of 15, so we're getting there. Okay, love that. Oh, The Great British Baking Show, plus their holiday edition. There's just something about The Great British Baking Show. I think it's the lack of competition, or it's the lack of like mean-spirited competition on that show. And if you've watched it, you know what I mean. It's like everyone's friends, everyone's like rooting each other on. It's very different than watching an American competition, and it's very sweet. It's just very sweet, and I mean that in every sense of the word. And I want to eat everything they make, so hard when you're watching your sugar consumption, but really, really nice. Oh, another kind of the same exact thing. Nailed It. Nailed It on Netflix. Oh my God. I am obsessed with that show. I'm obsessed with Nicole Byer. I'm obsessed with Jacques Torres. It never fails to give me like big belly laughs. But I love that people go on it knowing that people are laughing kind of at them, and then it kind of makes it laughing with them, right? It's great. And if you haven't watched Nailed It, you gotta watch Nailed It. Alright, I also binge watched, this is for my friend Karen, I binge watched the entire series of The Crown. And again, I did that like back in March, and I would put that on. To me, The Crown has moments that are just so good and so wonderful, you just live for them, and then there are so many boring moments and down moments that you're like, what am I watching? So I actually set up a puzzle area, and I worked on a puzzle while I watched / listened to The Crown. I also like did the dishes during it, did the laundry during it. So I really loved Margaret, and actually kind of Charles, and that's kind of it. Like, nobody else was that likable to me. But I will keep following it. Then next, John and I started watching Cheers. Like, so now I'm taking you way back in the day. And the thing about Cheers is that we started watching it because we had recently binge watched The Good Place, which if you haven't watched The Good Place, that show is phenomenal and you have to go watch it on Netflix, I believe. But Ted Danson is in The Good Place, and Ted Danson obviously very well known for Cheers. And I watched Cheers a ton as a little kid because as a little kid, we didn't have streaming, and so we just watched whatever was on, and Cheers was on a lot. So I kind of said to John, like, we should watch it. We should kind of see if it holds up. Yes and no. So Cheers holds up in a lot of ways. The characters are funny. The scenarios are funny. The show is pretty good. We really have enjoyed watching it. The way it doesn't hold up though is some of the jokes really, they would just never get made today, in terms of violence, in terms of jokes about different minority groups. Like, those are the parts you don't really laugh at. You kind of go, ooh, oh, oof, that's a little uncomfortable, ugh. So you have to kind of take it for what it was, and I like the nostalgia of watching it, but every once in a while I'm like, ooh, maybe you shouldn't have said that, or shouldn't have said it like that. That's not good. But do really like Ted Danson, and I kind of want to see where that goes, because I haven't watched it since childhood. I finally jumped on the Stranger Things bandwagon. I kind of didn't watch it for one purpose, which is I wanted to be able to super binge it. So not just binge a season, I really wanted to be able to binge multiple seasons of this show and really soak it in. So I just kind of avoided it for years. And so I was able to watch 3 full seasons of Stranger Things. I started before quarantine, I finished in quarantine. For me, I think season 1 is flawless. I think season 2 is very, very good. And I thought season 3 was like just like a little weaker, but still had great moments. All right, much like Married at First Sight, I'm completely obsessed with everything 90 Day Fiancé. So I've been watching 90 Day Fiancé after the 90 days, where they keep going with the different couple storylines. And then I also watched the 1 season of The Family Chantel, which follows one of the couples in particular. And it's one of those things that just like, it makes you so grateful for the partner that you have. Or I also bet if you're single at the moment, it might make you grateful not to have a specific partner, because, oh gosh, again, it's just like a great train wreck. Some of the couples really work out, and it's lovely when that happens, and it's wonderful and you root them on, and then some of them you're like, oh, what kind of decisions are you making? And it just kind of it just puts a lot of things into perspective. Similarly, on Hulu, there is 1 season of a show called Marrying Millions. So again, you kind of see how like the marriage shows, right? The train wrecks. And this is another train wreck. And the premise of this reality show is that there's one person in the couple who's a millionaire, and one person in the couple who is just not. And the trials and tribulations that go along with that. It's less train wrecky than some of the other shows I mentioned, but there's just enough train wreck to keep it interesting. I don't know how to say this except to say that we have been watching an absurd amount of DuckTales. The new one, the new DuckTales. Obsessed with it. Something else we've been watching, and then this I'll mention very, very quickly in the movie section as well. We've been watching Clone Wars, and that's on Disney Plus. And Clone Wars, I really thought I was going to come on and say to you guys, like, please, please watch Clone Wars, it's so good. But turns out Clone Wars is now one of like the top streamed shows, along with The Mandalorian and something else I can't remember. Oh, the thing on Netflix that I definitely did not watch and won't watch, that it's Joe Exotic, Tiger King, right? Yeah, I have no interest in that. There's probably so many of you going, what? You have to watch it! And it's like, I just won't. I have no interest in that kind of genre, and I don't like true stuff. Like, even the married stuff I watch, I'm like, I take that with a big grain of salt. Like, how true is all of this really? But the Tiger King thing, I'm just not into it, and I've read enough articles about it and seen enough memes that I kind of feel like I know everything about the situation anyway, so I don't need to watch it. But so, yeah, I think in April, the top 3 stream shows, like, in the country were Tiger King, Clone Wars, and Mandalorian. So, if you're a Star Wars fan, you gotta go watch Clone Wars. Essentially, Clone Wars is a series that follows several main characters, but Anakin, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Anakin's Padawan, Ahsoka Tano. And John for years has loved Ahsoka Tano and has always tried to get me to watch this show. I finally agreed to watch it, and I will say, there are some episodes that are like not that interesting. Like, I guess like anything. But by the end, it's absolutely phenomenal. And so it really takes place after episode 2, Star Wars episode 2, when the Clone Wars start, and it takes you through the Clone Wars, and you get to follow a lot of the clone troopers as well, and really get to love some of them specifically. And then it ends, and it kind of ends alongside of when episode 3 ends. So it spans a very long time period. Plus, if you're a Mandalorian fan, you absolutely need to watch the Clone Wars, because Ahsoka Tano is going to be in The Mandalorian. Like, that's not a secret. They've said that. And so you want to know her. She's phenomenal, and she alone is worth watching Clone Wars. Also, they made another animated show called Star Wars Rebels. I did not like it as much as Clone Wars, but it's very good, and it actually takes place after episode 3. Most of it is centered primarily 15 years after the Empire takes over. I also finally started watching RuPaul's Drag Race along with All Stars Drag Race, and I really like it. My only problem is I binged everything that was available on Hulu, and I would have to pay for the other seasons, and I really don't want to do that. Like on Amazon, I think for one season it's like 20 bucks, and I'm like, I'm probably not going to rewatch it, so I don't really want to pay 20 bucks for it. So I haven't been able to find other streaming services for it. Hopefully they'll release new seasons of Drag Race to Hulu one day and I can catch up, but I did watch maybe 6 seasons or so, and I really loved them. I thought that was awesome. It was so fun. Just like seeing something that is just so different than your own life, I always think is interesting. Then I'm gonna put these two together. I watched The Voice and I watched Masked Singer, and those are things that I've been watching for a while. The Voice I used to watch when it was like brand new, and then I kind of just got out of it for many years. Recently got back into it, love The Voice. Nick Jonas was a great coach this season, and I'm really impressed with how they were able to film contestants singing at home and continuing it during quarantine. It really wasn't as interesting, unfortunately, but the singing was still amazing and it was cool that they continued it. I started watching but then completely fell off, so I guess it didn't engage me enough, but I do intend on completing it. Amazon's new show, Making the Cut, with Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn. So it's like they really wanted to revamp Project Runway, but the Project Runway producers wouldn't kind of change things, so they went to Amazon, or Amazon came to them, I can't remember which way, and they were able to do their own fashion designer competition called Making the Cut. Really enjoyable. I know I'm mentioning a lot of shows and there's still lots of movies to come, by the way, but you have to remember this is like months worth of quarantine binge watching. We just started watching Netflix's new show Space Force featuring Steve Carell, and Tamia Jory's still out on it. John's not loving it. I really want to love it. I love all the people on it. I love all the actors and actresses. Just not sure about the storylines yet. It does make me laugh. I'm just kind of like withholding judgment so far. And then finally for TV shows, we just the other night started rewatching Parks and Recreation. I love Parks and Recreation. I love The Office, but I love Parks and Recreation more. Leslie is just, I love her, and Ron is so incredible. We quote that show a lot. So Parks and Recreation, love it. And I did watch their quarantine special episode. I loved that. I think we watched it on YouTube. So if you haven't watched that, I really liked it. I know it got mixed reviews. Some people thought it was, I think, boring or whatever, but I just kind of like to see where characters are, and Chris Pratt made me laugh so hard throughout his scenes, so I was good with it. Okay, so I do have a list of movies that we've watched. John is such a big movie buff. We have to watch movies all the time. And usually if he wants to watch a movie, I just say yes. Sure, why not? I did rank them, but like it was kind of hard to say like this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, but I could put them in like great, middling, bad. There are a couple not so great ones. I think I'll start with the good and we'll get to the bad. So again, if they're like one of the first couple ones I mentioned, one of my favorites, not necessarily the favorite, but I want to start with the movie The Accountant, which I think is definitely Ben Affleck's best role. If you've seen The Accountant, I hope you loved it. It's one of my favorite movies, I think, actually. But I don't really want to give anything away about these movies, so if you just, like, I would suggest just looking them up for yourself if they sound at all interesting by the title, because if I talk about each movie individually, we're gonna be here forever, but The Accountant is awesome. It's definitely like an action movie, and there's some really sweet moments, and Anna Kendrick's in it, and she's really fun. So we actually bought that on Amazon. Then I watched Frozen 2 by myself. John's not the biggest Frozen fan. Like, he doesn't dislike it, and he loves the Frozen show in Hollywood Studios, but I just needed to watch it one night. I think there's so many great lessons in Frozen 2, and I love Olaf. He's one of my faves. Then we did buy Sonic the Hedgehog, and I honestly had zero good expectations for it. Like, at best I had neutral expectations. We loved it. I think Sonic the Hedgehog is one of the best movies I've seen recently. Jim Carrey plays like the bad guy, and I don't think he's had a lot of roles, or a lot of good roles at least recently, and he kind of, I thought he was going to go way too over the top and cartoony with his villain, but he didn't, and so where he went was perfect, and Sonic was so cute, so it made me laugh. We watched Toy Story 4 because John's never seen it, and he absolutely loved it. I think it's his favorite Toy Story. All the reasons other people didn't like it, especially the ending, are the exact reasons John did. So, there you go. I think it's my second favorite behind 3. I like 3, 4, 1, 2. That's my order. Then we bought Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie, and I thought it was awesome. I was so happy we bought it, and I just thought it was like, it felt very like 90s Spice Girls girl power. That's what kind of like that vibe I got from it. I thought that it was shot in a really unique way. I loved the soundtrack. I loved most of the characters. The plot did not matter to me, and I don't think it mattered to them very much either. I think it was like a lot of gags and a lot of interesting dialogue and a lot of great costuming. So depending on what you're going for in a movie, to me, it was really great. We watched a lot of Marvel movies. In quarantine, I think we've only watched these 2. We watched Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel. And for the reason is we wanted ones we hadn't seen a ton, and I actually saw Doctor Strange, I think, after I even saw Infinity War. Doctor Strange is one I skipped, but I really love that movie, and I think it's so unique and so different compared to the others. And Captain Marvel is also different compared to the others, I find, in a lot of ways. So we kind of just were in that vibe at one point. So I like both of those movies. No problems there. We also saw Onward. We did not buy it. We waited till it came out for free on Disney Plus. And I liked it. I didn't expect to. I had heard very not so good things, and I didn't think I was gonna love it, but I did. I would say it's not making me want to like rush back and rewatch it, but I'm sure I will rewatch it at some point. Okay, for a hidden gem of a movie on Netflix, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And I will explain this one a little bit because it's probably the one on the list that most people haven't heard of, and I've watched it twice now, and I've really enjoyed it both times. It takes the idea of like a horror movie, like a Cabin in the Woods kind of thing, where like college kids are getting hunted down in the woods, horror movie style. It takes it and turns it on its head, where these college kids do go camping in the woods, and there are 2 like rednecky guys in the woods. And the kids think the guys are murdering them and trying to hunt them down, but they're not. Like, those guys are just on vacation, and through a series of like unfortunate events, the kids keep like accidentally dying. It doesn't sound funny, but it is funny. And so it's really more of the story of the 2 guys who the kids think are murderers, but they're not, and they're like, I don't understand what's happening in the woods. Why do people keep dying? Like, we're just on vacation. It's a good movie. It's an interesting watch. It's a little bloody, and I probably wouldn't watch it with like little kiddos, but otherwise I definitely would highly recommend it, and I kind of want to go rewatch it again. And I'm not into those kind of like horror movies at all. I wouldn't put it in the category of a horror movie. It's very much like its own weird category. We watched Wreck-It Ralph. We technically started Wreck-It Ralph, and I think we went like we had dinner, and then we got sleepy and we stopped watching it. We never quite picked it up, but we've seen Wreck-It Ralph enough times that we didn't necessarily feel the need to finish it. My feelings about Wreck-It Ralph are, I love it. I love it, especially as a concept, and I love Ralph. Vanellope had to take a very long time to grow on me, but she has. I do love Vanellope now. But I think the movie is too long. I think it would have benefited from cutting out certain elements and being a little bit shorter. That's just my 2 cents. I think it's a great movie. It's very original, and I love that about it, but it's a bit tedious at certain points for me. We watched Booksmart on Hulu. Booksmart kind of being like when John and I were in high school, one of the big teen movies was Superbad, and at the time we really liked it. I don't think it holds up as much, honestly, anymore. Like, it was very much a product of its era. But Booksmart, I feel like, is trying to be like the girl version of Superbad, and I think that it's a little more wholesome and a little sweeter. But honestly, it was pretty funny. It did surpass my expectations. I would watch it again. Definitely not appropriate for little ones, even though I described it as a bit more wholesome. I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good. Like, we're kind of in the middle of the movies now. They're not like, oh my god, I highly recommend you watch this, but if you have time, it's worth a watch, I think. Oh, this one I would actually put more towards the top of the movies. We did buy Rocket Man. I really wanted to see that one, the Elton John story. There were some slow moments, but otherwise it was a good story. I liked that Elton John really wanted to put all the truth of his life out there, including the good, bad, and the ugly. And I did hear him say that, like, he wouldn't let a biopic of his life be filmed for a long time because people just wanted to sugarcoat it, and he was like, no, I want all the bad stuff in there, and the bad stuff is in there. There's a lot of great music, though, and Taron Egerton, I think is his name, who plays Elton John, just is a phenomenal actor and a phenomenal singer, so I thought he alone was really worth watching the movie. Okay, something else that we just recently watched on Netflix that was just middle-ish was Adam Sandler's, I think, most recent movie with Jennifer Aniston called Murder Mystery. And so it's about this American couple, and they witness a murder on a fancy yacht, and the police think they did it, and so they spend their time trying to figure out who actually done it. And I thought I think it's like advertising itself as a comedy. And for a comedy, it failed. It's not that funny. For a mystery movie, that's actually pretty good. I actually did enjoy it. The mystery was a good one. I'll say that. So, real quickly, also we did watch Clone Wars because Clone Wars was first a movie and then it got into the TV show. So we watched the movie and I thought the movie was only okay. Like, the show really was what grew on me, so that's why the movie's kind of in the middle. But you gotta start with the movie to understand what's going on. And that's on Disney+. So then I'm going to go through these next ones pretty fast because now we're getting into the okay to actually bad movies. I watched The First Wives Club on Netflix just because it was a movie I'd always heard people talking about and like my whole life, and I never watched. And I know there was an original, like, I think black and white one. I'm talking about the one that was from maybe the early 90s with Goldie Hawn in it. And it was just kind of okay. Like, I'm not mad I watched it, but it wasn't great. Then I watched, this is actually at the beginning of quarantine, I watched The Reluctant Dragon on Disney+. Not that it wasn't good. There were parts of The Reluctant Dragon that were super good because essentially they take you through the Walt Disney Studios back in the day, like when Walt was even still alive, and they take you through a tour of like all the different art departments, the sound department, the story department of Walt Disney Studios, and that part is really, really good. Like, if you wanted like an insider scoop on like that time period in Disney's history, it's a great watch. That part of it is awesome. But it was a little bit tedious also at certain parts, like just like some old movies do tend to be to a modern audience, and they had cartoon shorts, which I'm just not a big fan of a lot of the old cartoon shorts because I do think they're just too long. Like, if they were a little snippier and they got to the point a little faster, I'd probably like them more. That's just my personal opinion. If you love those old Disney cartoons and you love the idea of seeing a tour of like the Walt Disney Studios back in the day, you need to go watch The Reluctant Dragon. You will love it. I liked it. I would watch it again, but it just was not my favorite. We watched the original, like from when I was a kid, X-Men, X2, and X-Men Last Stand. I bought all of them on Amazon, or rented all of them for a very cheap price on Amazon, because I've always liked the X-Men, and I remember really liking those movies and seeing them in theaters when I was in like middle school-ish. And they do not hold up. They really just don't. The first one is, I feel like the first one is so forgettable. The next day I could not remember what the first X-Men movie was about. I just couldn't. X2 got a little bit better. X3 was fine. Like, they were a fine series, but sometimes you shouldn't rewatch what you liked when you were a kid because it doesn't hold up. We also really, we rented on Amazon the most recent Godzilla movie, King of the Monsters, because we had watched, a couple years ago they made a Godzilla movie where Godzilla turned out to kind of be the hero of the movie. And we kind of liked it. We're like, oh, it's a pretty good monster movie. You just shut your brain off and watch monsters battle. That's kind of cool. We're not against that. But the problem with Godzilla King of the Monsters was that they focused far too much on the people. Like, a monster movie should not be about the people. It should be about the monsters. Like, that's why you're watching it. And anytime there was a good monster fight, they would like cut away from it. So it's one of the worst movies I've seen. It's definitely at the bottom of, like, towards the bottom of this list with some other not so great movies that I'm about to mention. Then this one, people are not going to like me for. But I finally, for the first time in my life, watched Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I never had any interest in it, but a couple nights ago I was like, you know what? I want to give it a shot. And that was actually on Netflix. I just want to mention that because I thought it would be on Disney Plus, but I guess Netflix still has it. It just wasn't great. Like, I love Harrison Ford. I obviously love him in some other roles, like as Han Solo, and I really wanted to like it because the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland is my favorite overall Disney ride. It just felt like everything was kind of rushed and underdeveloped. Like, to me, Indiana Jones did not hold up. Sorry. Okay, and then the 3 movies that are absolutely at the bottom of my list. Technically, one is not a movie. It's a mini-series. But it's the miniseries Merlin, which follows Merlin of King Arthur fame. John loves the King Arthur movies, and so he watched that when he was a kid, and he was like, "You have to watch it. It's so good." And it's not so good. I'm sorry, it's just not. I've never met a King Arthur story I liked, honestly, and that was no exception. But then even worse than that, he made me watch the other night a movie called Excalibur, which he even described as weird, and it's from 1981, and it's weird, and it does not hold up, and it's slightly terrifying, and extremely boring. And the King Arthur story is a very long one. There's a lot of details in it, and the big problem with that movie is that they tried to hit every single point from, like, King Arthur, even his, like, father and his father's war and his father's parentage, to, like, what happens, like, throughout all of Arthur's life. And it was pretty much like they were like, okay, check, 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 we got everything, great. But they didn't have a good movie because they just filmed a whole bunch of scenes that were short or confusing or just not very interesting. So I can't recommend it. And then the absolute worst, and John's like, you can't make that your worst movie, but it's absolutely the worst movie I've ever seen. John insisted that I watch Bloodsport, which is like an action movie, like a martial arts, kung fu kind of style action movie from, God, I don't know, the 80s. And it's just not good. The acting is not good. The martial arts was kind of, I don't know, it didn't really impress me, to be honest. And maybe because I'm used to, like, CGI fighting and things like that. But I don't know, like, it just wasn't my cup of tea whatsoever. I wasn't drawn in by it, because he was like, yeah, the acting's bad and the storyline's bad and confusing and based on a true story that was later debunked. But, you know, the fighting is good, but I didn't really even care for the fighting. And there were a lot of plot holes, and we keep making fun of the movie, and so that's officially the worst thing I've seen in quarantine. Or maybe ever. I do have a few other movies I might hate more than it. But thank you for watching this video, guys. If you have any more questions about quarantine or anything you'd like me to address in a future video, please put it down in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'm going to end this video. Thank you again for watching, guys. I can't wait to keep filming more videos for you, and I'll see you real soon.